Hi everybody. So this will be SAT question solving session, craft and structure. No, not to say I'm not a SAT. I haven't given the SAT properly yet. So I don't have a 1500 plus score to say that I'm good enough to teach you. But what I would do here that I will both learn and teach you about the SAT craft and structure type questions. So I hope you will have fun. This will be a long video and hopefully you will like it. So um, also I don't have any fancy video editing stuffs to do, so I guess this video might be a part 1 part 2 video, like part wise. So let's go for it. So before I say, there are many types of SAT questions. For example, words in context. Okay, the words in context. So basically what the words in context wants, suppose usually what they do, like they will dash a line and they will give you multiple options to figure out what could it be. So when you have that kind of question, so just read the line, the whole sentence which is connected to this dash, and if you still can understand, then read the line before and read the line after. That's the trick here. Okay, and there might be another type of question. For example, text and structure, like text structure and purpose. These are usually the hard ones. Why? Because these questions, like sometimes you have to read the whole passage to understand what I'm doing. And the other one is the cross text connections, which I think is very, very easy to connect because it is all about connecting the dots. Okay, so before I start this stream fully, I would like to say you that I might make mistakes during the whole stream. Like I might make mistakes, but I will teach you what mistakes I did also. So I hope it will help you because I believe in the Feynman method. The Feynman method, I mean, like, if you can teach it to somebody, that means you haven't mastered it. So I'll both learn and teach it to you. Hopefully it will be fun. I'll probably give the SAT in next month or the month after. So I guess we can begin. Oh, like the cross text part. Yeah, the cross text. The cross text will give you text 1 and text 2. You need to find similarity or not or something like not common, something like that. So that's what the cross text purpose passages do. And yeah, I guess it will be fine for you guys to know that this will help you to build up some skills. Okay, and this is a part video and hopefully you'll have fun. So don't waste time and let's start. Okay, let's start with this questions and we'll go. As you can see, there are 471 questions in the college board, and there might be more. Sorry, I mean, recently more questions have been added, so I don't know how many questions have been added, but I'll just do it one by after another and let's see. Hopefully you'll have fun and learn something from it. Let's start with the craft and structure, what's in context. Okay, so the artist Marlin Dingy, the coil baskets are dash sweetgrass and palmetto palm. Okay, so now you can see that coil baskets. So how do the baskets? A basket cannot be indicated by sweetgrass or palmetto palm. Let's look at the second line. So they say that this dingle skinfully winds the tail palm form around a bunch of sweetgrass with the help of sewing board, which means they use sweetgrass and the palm to make it. That means we can say that it is handmade from. So the option should be B. Let's check it. Yes, the correct option is B. Now you may ask why. because it's a basket, and the second line of the passage describes how he does it. And in the passage you will see that he said that the Tim palm from around a bunch of sweet grass and the help of a sewing bone. Sewing means like sewing the basket. So it already indicates it. All the difficulty level is might be too easy, I guess. Yeah, that's why it was so easy. Let's go to the next question. Okay. So science fiction has long served as real-world technological advancements. So constraint to no, sponsor of no. It can be a catalyst because what is catalyst? Catalyst in chemistry we call catalyst is a substance which increases the rate of reaction. So we can think of catalyst which increases the rate of something. Catalyst, okay? Catalyst will mean here which will increase the rate of something. So on here it means technological advancements. Technological advancements, so it should be catalyst. The options should be C. I hope you understand, and I don't know if it's probably zoom or not. I'll zoom it more for you. Hopefully you'll see it clearly. And yeah. Should I do zoom a bit more? No, I think it will be too much. Yeah, I guess now it's fine. You'll see it properly now. So yeah, so it should be, answer should be C, catalyst. Let's check it. That should be C. Now we'll think about some another problem here. So the invention in 1958 of the integrated circuit radically altered the semiconductor factory. Some historians argued that it fundamentally overwhelmed, bypassed, obstructed. It did not overwhelm, it did not bypass something, it did not obstruct it, which is kind of negative word. It transformed. We can all know that semiconductors have transformed what we use, the mobile phone and others. So the answer should be obviously option C. Transforms, D, transform, option D. I was right. I did say the wrong options here. Sorry for the sound behind. I cannot control that, so hopefully you'll forgive me for that. Yeah, it's a very messy sound. Yeah, hopefully we'll figure out. Stupid people make too many sounds. Unnecessary here. Okay. So the next question here is the following text is adapted from Nathaniel Hawthorne's 1837. They are finished. The following text is adapted from the Nathaniel Hawthorne's 1837 story, Dr. Heidegger's Experiment. So they want us. Okay. So see, I told you a question about what? That it will dash a line and then we'll figure out what it will be. So let's figure it out. So in the question it says singular. As you can see, the question has dashed the singular. Now, let's read the whole line. Soon, however, a singular change began to be visible. So you say, at first lay lightly on the surface of the fluid and appearing to imbibe none of its moisture. Okay. Singular is like something they call exceptional, like a singular change. Usually it doesn't mean one, like singular change. When you define a change which is very, for example, singular, okay? Whenever you see singular in your any sort of questions, it refers to something extraordinary or exceptional, like one of a kind, one of a kind, something like that. So the answer should be extraordinary. Let's check it. Yeah, it's option D. Now the next question. Oh, I accidentally kept open, but it's okay. We'll try to solve it. Rejecting the premise. Okay, let's try. Rejecting the premise that the literary magazine Bonnie and Topaz should present a unified vision of Black America's identity. Uh, Editor Charles as Johnson fostered his contributors' diverse perspectives by promoting their authorial autonomy. Johnson's self-effacement. It should be pronounced like self-effacement. Okay, self-effacement diverged from the editorial stances of the W.B. Du Bois, whose decisions for their publications were more. Okay, now we need to understand this question. Okay, first sentence. Library magazine Ebony should present a unified vision of Black American identity. Fostered his contributors' diverse perspective by promoting their authorial autonomy. So Johnson's self-effacement diverged from the editorial stances. So it diverged. So what do we mean by diverge? To split, to move apart. Okay, to split, to move apart. Diverged from the stances of the boys, and whose decisions for their publications were more. Okay, now we need to figure out were more. So we note that perspectives promoting their proficient. I think ambiguous will not happen. Unpretentious will not also happen. Probably dogmatic, maybe. Dogmatic might happen. So what's dogmatic meaning? I'm thinking like dogmatic can happen. States their beliefs, opinions as refusing to consider other viewpoints or evidence. It should be dogmatic, okay? So why do you think of dogmatic? Because as they say, it diverged, it moved apart. So here dogmatic means beliefs or opinions as absolute fact, refusing to consider other viewpoints. So these, see, Du Bois and Alan Locke diverged from it. So which shows that they are kind of dogmatic because they want to focus on their own beliefs. So I'll think of it as the option answer C. So B, dogmatic, B. So yeah, the answer is dogmatic. Here's your answer. So let's go for another question. Right. Now that's a very difficult question, so we need to be very careful here. So the dashed line is, how lifelike are they? Many computer animators prioritize the question as they strive to create even more realistic environment and lighting. Generally, while characters in computer animated films appears highly exaggerated, environments and lighting are carefully engineered to mimic reality, but some animators such as Pixar's Sanjay Patel are focused on different questions rather than asking first whether the environments and lighting they are creating are convincingly lifelike. Patel and others are asking whether these elements reflect their film's unique stories. Okay, so if we want to understand that, it reflects a primary goal. So if you how lifelike are they? So you see, okay, but some participants are focused on different questions. So here is the meaning of the question. Rather than asking first whether the environments and lighting they're creating are convincingly lifelike, and asking whether these elements reflects their film's unique stories. Okay, so what should be the answer? Option A, it reflects a primary goal that many computers animators have certain components of animation. It won't be option A. It represents a concern for a concern of computer animators who are more interested in creating unique backgrounds and lighting effects than realistic ones. Interested in creating unique background. It isn't mentioned here. Oh, another thing. if the option is not mentioned in the passage, if the option is not mentioned in the passage, you will not focus on it. Okay? It conveys the uncertainty among many computer animators how to create realistic animations using current technology. It illustrates the reaction that audiences typically have. They didn't mention about audience. It will not be A, it will not be A, and it will not be D. So it represents a concern of computer animators who are more interested in creating unique backgrounds and lighting effect than realistic one. It conveys the uncertainty among how to create realistic animations using current technologies. It represents a concern of computer animators who are more interested in creating unique backgrounds. I think it should be option B, because unique stories, unique backgrounds, lighting effects, and realistic ones. I think it should be option B. Oh, it should be option A. Oh, the function of the underlying question. So here I made a mistake. Okay, the mistake is that did not ask the model. It asked for the function. So what do they mean by the function question? Suppose we know that f of x is equals to this. Okay, so the function here is primary goal. So this is the primary goal here. This is the primary goal. The primary goal that many computer animators have for certain components of the animations they produce. Certain components of the animations they produce. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's very good thing to do. We made a mistake, but we'll learn from it. Now, why choices underlying question? Because how lifelike are they? So primary goal that many computer animators have for certain components of the animation they produce. Oh, you see, that's the mistake I made. I didn't read the option properly. So question CADDT. So I'll mark this question. It's important for me. So let's go to the next question. Another text and purpose question. The main purpose of this text. Okay, we'll remove the option. The field of study called affective neuroscience seeks instinctive physiological causes for feelings such as pleasure or displeasure. Because these sensations are linked to a chemical component, the dopamine, in the brain, when one receives or expects a reward. They can be said to have a partly psychological basis. These processes have been described in mammals, but Jing'an Huang and his colleagues have recently observed that some behaviors of honeybees are also motivated by a dopamine-based immune process. So it says, the main purpose of the text. So let's think about it. It describes an experimental method of measuring the strength of physiological responses in humans. Does it? No. It illustrates by which certain insects can express how they're feeling. It summarizes a finding suggesting that some mechanism in the brain of certain insects resemble in mechanisms in mammalian brains. This can be an option. Like, they also have dopamine. It presents research showing that certain insect and a mammal behave similarly when they have a possibility of a reward for their actions. Some behaviors of honeybees are also motivated by the dopamine process. So option D is very likely because certain insects and mammals behave similarly when they have a possibility of reward for their actions. Option A will not be the answer. Option B, it illustrates process by which certain insects can express how they're feeling. but the passage also measured human. It cannot be option A, cannot be option B. So option C, it summarizes the findings suggesting that some mechanisms in the brain of certain insects resemble mechanisms in mammalian brain. So some mechanisms in brains of certain insects. But in the passage, you can see that the passage at first mentioned the mammals, not bees. So I think it should be option D, option C. Oh, this was a close option because both of them was meaning the same thing. And let's see why it wouldn't be option D. Because text presents research showing that certain, however, honeybees and mammals behave similarly when there's a possibility for their actions. Oh, it's not a research or something. It doesn't present research. That might be option. Because text research for showing certain honeybee behaviors such as foraging are linked to dopamine, therefore are motivated to similar mechanisms in mammal brain. Not that similarly when they have a possibility for the actions. Okay, it didn't say the actions, so it should be option C. So we made another mistake here. The mistake is that read the passage perfectly, and if it's not mentioned in the passage, like the passage did not say anything about reward, so we should not focus on that. So see, that's the mistake we made. So we will come back to this. This is another question. Now let's solve this. Drivers who strongly believe that the toll they must pay to use the Lewis and Clark Bridge, which spans, okay, so you can see there is an unessential clause here. When sentences are divided by two commas, it means it's an non-essential clause. So in that case, is currently too high are unlikely to be. Drivers who strongly believe that the toll they must pay to use a local bridge, which spans or is kind of too high. It's kind of too high and are unlikely to be. Unlikely to be, receptive to, or apprised by, incensed by, or cited in. Unlikely to be receptive to, incensed by, or cited in. We will say it's receptive. Let's see. Yeah, receptive. Because now, how did I figure it out? I didn't know the full meaning of receptive. The trick is, like, the sentence speaks, okay? The sentence, the option speaks. I'm not good at vocab, I understand that. I'll improve my vocab if I can, but memorizing vocab is too much, man. It's like, recept, receive, like they will not receive this gesture. Suppose people came, they will not receive this proposal as welcoming. So you see the word receive this proposal welcoming. So you will see that receive and receptive, or we can think of it as reception, they are quite similar. So it should be option A. Yeah, it's correct. The two wrong questions. Okay, according to a team of neuroscientists from the University of Zurich, ease of the decision making may be linked to, okay, so let's focus on this part. Ease of decision making may be linked to communications between two brain regions, the prefrontal cortex and presontal cortex. Individuals tend to be more decisive if information flows between the region is intensified, whereas they make choices slowly when the information flow is obviously reduced. So to see, like, it's a easy question, like positive and negative cortex intensified, whereas make choice was is reduced. So it's the information flow rate. So it should be reduced. A, it's reduced. So it's a question. I'm really coming. I hope hopefully the recording is going on well. Yeah. So let's go next question. Like some economics historians that experienced economical. So you see, this is this like whenever you see this punctuation here, it mainly says that like it will explain the sentence. Okay, so I'll be coming. Wait. So if we can see that some economic historians surmised. Okay, now we will think about. Okay, late 19th century households in the United States experienced an economy of scale when it came to food purchases. Now let's see what happened to food purchases. They assume that large households spend less on food per person than did small households. And the economist Trevor Logan showed, however, that a close look at the available data disproves this supposition. Okay, now we need to focus on the text. Okay, that they assume that large households spend less on food per person than did small households. Now that's an interesting question. Questioned that. Okay, they assumed that it should not be questioned that experienced, and it should not be questioned. Should not be. Can it be regret? That this proves it's not regret, because in the next sentence they say that this proves the supposition. So it could be surmised or contrived. So what I can say is that it should be surmised. Yeah, see, surmised. So now I don't know the meaning of surmised or contrived, but how did I do it? Now let me tell you. So you see, when you hear the word surmise, but I will tell you to have good vocabulary. Whenever you see the word surmise, it kind of says like, the word summarize. Summarize. So what they did in the passage, they summarized what happened with a large household who spent less on food per person than did small households. So that's why the answer should be choice A, because it explains. Now you might say, why not B? Because contrived would mean brought about or created through trickery. What does contrived mean? Contrived mean brought about or created through trickery. So we'll learn new vocab through the solving the questions. Contrived here means brought about or created through trickery. Brought about or created through trickery. So I guess the video is going on well. Yeah, the recording is going on well. My camera is also getting heated up. Okay, let's go to the next question. So yeah, this one says easy. I don't know. Still make mistakes on the easy questions sometimes. So in this question they say the following text from blah blah blah. So what does disturbed mean here? So it's like the singular question, okay? The baying of the wolves sounded nearer, and as though they were closing around from every side. So the wolves were coming. I grew dreadfully afraid. He was afraid of seeing the wolves. The horse shared my fear. The horse, like in the animation Disney movies, when they hear the voices of hyenas or other stuff, they have fear. The driver, however, was not in the least disturbed. He kept turning his head left to right, but I could not see anything through darkness. So the driver was still, The driver was not nervous. Here disturbed by means the driver was not nervous. Okay, least disturbed or nervous. Okay, driver was not nervous. Now what we can say here, driver was not interrupted. No, it isn't interrupting of any of drivers. The driver was not offended. No, it did not say the driver was offended or something. Was not least disturbed. Little disturbed. He kept turning left to right. The least disturbed, or we could say alarmed. This might be similar, like the alarmed one, or the disorganized. Okay, disorganized. We can say disorganized. Least disorganized. So it says a many good thing here. Least disturbed, disorganized. Disorganized means they are organized. It does not mean here. So the B answer should be alarmed. Yeah, see, it actually alarmed. Why? Because the driver was still. He was not fearing. He was calm and composed. So when you're attacked by wolves, so if you're nervous, that means you are not, or you are very alarmed. Okay, you're always looking whether the wolves are coming to see you. So here, that's what the disturbed mean. Okay, now think of something like that. Like suppose so many wolves are coming at you. See, so if one person is constantly looking away left and right, that means he's alarmed, least alarmed. Okay, that's what I mean. Now you might get confused that he kept turning his head left to right, which means he was alarmed. But no, we will focus our sentence on here. Was not the least disturbed. Was not in the least disturbed, which means he was alarmed. So that's what the meaning question of the meaning is. So okay, let's go to the next question. It's a hard question, they say. Okay. So the economist Marco Castillo and colleagues showed that nuisance cost and the time and effort people must spend to make donations reduce charitable giving. Charities can mitigate this effect by compensating donors for nuisance costs, but those costs, though variable, are largely, so it largely depends on something. Okay, depends on something. Or maybe not. So charities that compensate donors will likely favor attracting a few large donors or small donors. So let's read the passage again. Showed that nuisance cost, the time and effort people must spend to make donations. Okay, time and nuisance cost reduce charitable giving. So see, this is an unessential clause here. See, whenever you see sentences like this, these are non-essential clause. Oh, why am I saying unessential? Non-essential clause. Whenever you use sentences like this or like these are non-essential clause. I hope you understood this thing. These are non-essential clause. So, charitable giving. So the nuisance cost reduce charitable giving. Charities can mitigate this effect by compensating donors for nuisance costs. Nuisance. What does nuisance mean? Something negative. Yeah, nuisance means something negative that causes annoyance. So, but those costs, though, are largely independent of the donation size, or maybe of something else. Supplemental to the donation size. But though, so charities can mitigate this effect by compensating donors for nuisance costs. So we can say the compensating donors for nuisance costs, because the charities thinks that the donors already suffer from the nuisance costs, so they can mitigate this effect by compensating them. But those costs, though, are largely supplemental to predictive of, subsumed. Okay, now this is a very good question here. Charities that compensate donors will likely favor attracting a few large donors over many small donors. Now, here's a catch. They want to mitigate the nuisance cost. So, it says that compensating donors for nuisance costs is not an effective method because it's largely independent of donation side, which means it does not depend. So I guess it should be independent of. That's my answer. Yeah. See? Now you should read the question more deeply. Okay? The fact is in the SAT hall room we don't get to use our mouth quite well, but yeah, that's how you solve these questions. Like reading and reading again and again. That's how it helps you to master it. So let's go for another question. 1C7 9BE. Oh, 1C7 9BE. 1C7 9BE. So we have solved approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. In 14 questions we were wrong in 2 questions. So that's a good improvement, I guess. Okay, so let's go for it. Yeah, so let's check this question. Oh, hopefully the answer is not there. Okay. Now, the black residents of Richmond, Virginia have few formal options for banking and other financial service. So, very few financial problems. Okay, they have very few financial problems. Formal options for banking and other financial services. Now, to reduce that, they need to rectify, okay, to prolong. Nobody wants to prolong it. Nobody wants to retain it because it's a problem. It's a problem, like few. It's already telling it's a problem. So we need to rectify it. We need to solve it. So it should be B. Yeah, it's B. And yeah, I forgot to do that. Next time I'll do that. So in that case, let's solve another question here. It's easy. Now another. Okay, Srimati Swarnakumari Devi's novel for Fatal Garland, Christian Albers, and I think that's by Christian Albers. And Shakti is walking near a riverbank that she visited. Okay, she crossed the woods she knew so well. The tree seems to extend their branches like welcoming arms. Okay, seems to extend their branches like welcoming arms. Shakti feels uncomfortable? No. Shakti has lost a suggestion? No. Shakti has a sense of belonging in the landscape? It conveys Shakti's appreciation for our long-term friendship. She greeted her as old friends when she reached the riverside. So it did not say that Shakti had appreciated their long-term friendship, but it says old friend. Okay, so it actually, so if they pointed out option D here, then we would have picked D because long-term friendship, old friend, that would have said that. So I think it should be option C. Yeah, see, now, we could have given that option D. Now I'm gonna tell you why it will not be option D. Because it will not be option D because we need to focus on which sentence is dashed, not the other sentence. So the sentence dash is that extend their branches like welcoming arms. So whenever you go somewhere where you feel welcomed, so you use so which means you belong there. Nobody will accept you. You will not feel belong anywhere if they do not accept you cordially or likely. So that's the solution here. Next question. Okay. During a 2024 archaeological dig in Spain, Vicente Lowell and his team uncovered the skeleton of a woman from El Algar, an early Bronze society, buried with valuable objects, signaling a high position of power. These findings may persuade researchers who have argued that Bronze Age societies were ruled by men. To waive that, women may have also held leadership roles. Well, try to understand. This finding may persuade researchers who argued that Bronze Age were ruled by men to concede. Now, here's a very tricky question here. Like, we can make mistakes here. It looks easy options, but we can make silly mistakes here. So we need to know how to avoid the mistakes. Okay? So to avoid the mistakes, we need to know that these findings may persuade researchers who have argued that Bronze Age societies were ruled by men. Bronze Age societies were ruled by men to contradict that women may have it contradicts something. Okay, it contradicts. They have argued that were ruled by men, so it contradicts something. To refute that, women may have also leadership roles. There's not way it should be refuted. It should concede. It should be concede. I think that this was a vocab problem. Okay, this was a vocab problem. Maybe I was too fast. Concede means to admit something. Okay, so they want to admit. So they have to admit that women may have also leadership roles. So what we have learned that concede means to admit that this. So can be concede means to admit that this may happen or not happen. Okay, so that's the answer. We made a mistake here. So yeah, we will check those mistakes after solving this. I have a lot to solve. Okay, let's go to another question. So we have approximately 50 questions here. Yeah, we have 50 questions here, I guess. Yeah. Approximately we have 50 questions here. Actually, should be around 50 questions. Yeah, 50. Right, yeah, 30. Yeah, it should be 50 questions here. So let's start doing that. So now comes the cross-check. The most important thing. So in the cross-text questions, you will see that imagine you and your friend are trying to decide where to eat lunch. Based on the text, at first we read the question. Which response would be the author of text 2 most likely suggest for someone in the situation described in the underlined sentence in text 1? Which response would the author text 2 would likely suggest? So it could be something that the text 2 author would say. Imagine you and your friend are trying to decide where to eat. When people have to make joint decisions like this, they often don't reveal their true preferences. Instead, they say they would be happy with all the options because they think this response will help them appear more easygoing or likable to the other person. Okay, researchers show that who don't state their preferences making a decision with others aren't more likable in the eyes of others. In fact, stating that you have no preference actually makes the decision more difficult for other people. It can also cause them to feel less happy with their ultimate decision and with you. Now, cancel the plan, have lunch together? No. Ask where their friend typically likes to eat. Suggest. So they would like to suggest someone if they fall in that situation. So what would they suggest? Ask what they like to eat. State your preference or where they want to eat. Should be C. It might be a mistake. Yeah, should be C. Okay, that's it for these questions. These cross-text connection questions. The questions are very important. Like, read the question whether they are similarity or not common, or what would they would suggest. Those type of things. Okay, it was an easy question. Took me enough time, but yeah. I guess we'll solve 50 cross-text questions here, and then we'll make step-by-step more videos about it, and hopefully we'll master everything. Let's see how long can I go, depending on my energy. I'll be right back. Sorry for the disturbance, guys. Sorry, I'm kind of living in a night situation. Sorry about that. So, let's go to the next question. Yeah, feeling kind of unwell. I guess this should be the part 1 video. This should be the last question we'll solve, and I'll give you the other parts as well. Let's go for it then. Okay, difficulty medium. What choice best describes the main purpose of the text? A study by Dr. Paul Hanel and colleague concluded that people are more likely to behave politely when listening to ideas they disagree with if they think about values before they engage in discussion. Study participants were assigned to one of two groups. The experimental group spent a few minutes writing about one of their personal values, and there's a trick for these questions. Like, just think of it. Like, you don't have time to read the whole passage, so you have to be smart. People more like to behave politely when listening to ideas when they disagree with if they think about the value before the discussion. Okay, so people are more likely to behave politely when listening to ideas they disagree with if they think about the values before they engage in discussion. Okay. To describe it, widely believed that how I studied was supposedly targeted researchers were surprised by the results. No. Found that experimental groups were most civil. Engage 3 minutes, reference 3 minutes, they put had a group on the topic. Uncle spent a few minutes of learning, think of the discussion topic. Hanel and their colleagues found that the experimental group's discussion was more civil than controlled discussion was. So, experimental group discussion was more civil. So what did the experimental group do? The experimental group spent few minutes writing one of their personal values before they had a group discussion about a controversial topic, and a control group fixed a few minutes on writing about a drink before their group discussion of the topic. About a drink before they. So for that, in that case, it should be how we explain a study's conclusion. To explain a study's conclusion and how a research team arrived at the conclusion. So say people like to behave politely when they listening to disagree, listening to. Okay, so behave politely, disagree if they think about values. So it will not improve, it will not surprise. To describe widely held belief and how a study's results support the belief. It's not a belief. Study's conclusion. I think it should be option D. Yeah, it should be option D. So why it's option D? So because it explains the study's conclusion. That's the conclusion, and how a research team arrived at the conclusion. So yeah. So I hope you liked the video. I'm not unable to do enough content right now because I think that's enough for today. Okay, so I guess that's enough for today, and you'll have learned something more about it. Stifle all the sounds and noises. Hopefully I'll come with another video, or probably right after I'll record another so that it becomes more calm and relaxed. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's enough for today, I guess. See ya.